Being a child of a substance abuser is an incredible burden to carry. There are a variety of negative effects it has on children. Children of substance abusers are a population that can have many factors affecting their outcome. It is mostly a matter of each child's individual situation, but there is a general idea of what happens when a child's parent is addicted to drugs and why they behave the way they do. Drug addiction affects everyone in the home and is a lengthy process to overcome. Substance abusing parents affect their child's development, their health mentally, physically, socially, and the chance that the child will repeat their parents' substance abusing behaviors. Drugs, families, and foster care are all heavily intertwined, but there is a way to help these problems. Children face the obvious when being raised by a parent addicted to drugs, neglect, and maltreatment. A parent who abuses drugs cannot raise a child properly. Substance abusing parents tend to have, quote, impaired capacity for parental alertness, attention, and supervision, end quote, Kimberly. Children and adolescents need discipline in their younger years in order to develop self-control and discipline later on. Without this, they learn to leave everything up to themselves and become mistrustful of others. Children often feel like they are to blame for their parents' addiction and feel compelled to accept responsibilities well beyond their years, end quote, Lamada, which causes them to mature more rapidly. Another thing that causes these children to mature more rapidly is the emotions they have to deal with. Many times a child feels guilt for their parents' substance abuse. Not knowing what is going to happen at home causes anxiety. Dysfunctional families bring stress and chaos into a child's life. Sometimes children do not want to bring friends home because they feel embarrassed about the situation, and this also does not allow them to have a close relationship with others, which could lead to depression. There is also the anger that a child could feel, thinking that their parent does not love them enough to stop abusing. Children also face confusion, fear, insecurity, and lack of communication. All of the stress that living in a home with a substance abuser brings most of the time affects a child's ability to pay attention in school and keep up with their grades. Everyday life is a struggle for a child with a substance abusing parent. These children feel different from other people and wonder what is normal. They tend to be impulsive, either very responsible or very irresponsible, judge themselves, and seek approval from others. The worst case scenarios could include verbal and physical abuse, incest, or witnessing violence in or outside of the home. Children of substance abusers often have aggression towards others that can cause them to take risk-taking behaviors. It can also lead to depression and thoughts of suicide. Frequently, this population of children starts abusing drugs and alcohol themselves. This puts them at risk of addiction, death from being involved in a substance-related accident, dangerous driving, unsafe sex, and the use of other drugs. Weinstein. A Hidden America, Children of the Mountains, follow the lives of 3 kids living in the Central Appalachians. The host, Diane Sawyer, first introduced the senior in high school, Sean Grimm. Grimm was voluntarily homeless. He slept in his truck or anywhere he can lie down for the night. Sawyer asked Grimm why he left and responded that he wanted to, quote, escape thievery, alcohol, and undertow, end quote, Grimm, of the area his family was living in. He did not want to follow their footsteps and mess up his life. Grimm's family dug illegal coal off the mountainsides. Some did not know how to read, and none had a high school diploma. Sean was taught that he should drink a beer a day, quote, to flush out the kidneys, end quote, Grimm. And that goes to show what no high school diploma in the family could make a kid believe. Grimm's mother showed the family's most valuable possession that was under lock and key, prescription drugs. Next was Courtney, who moved from place to place and was currently living with 11 other family members under one roof. Courtney's mother, Angel, used to be, quote, hooked on drugs, end quote, Courtney, and would disappear for 2 or 3 days at a time. Angel admits that she used to go to drug counseling and snort a pill right after. Now she is, quote, trying to salvage what she can by going for her GED so she can get a job, end quote, Angel. Jobs are hard to come by for people on the Appalachians. Courtney's family earns $523 a month for food, and when that money runs out, there is no food. Courtney's biggest fear is her mother leaving her again. Then there is Erica, whose mother was still battling addiction. Erica was very young when the audience first met her. At that time, her mother was in jail, but she still had hope. A few years later, Erica tremendously matured, and not in a good way. Just by looking in her eyes, one could see the sadness and disappointment that a 12-year-old should not have. Children who deal with parents battling addiction are affected the worst. Social services forced Erica's mother into rehabilitation, but it did not help. Quote, Erica could be found walking alone around town to escape her mother when she is high, end quote, Sawyer. In this documentary, the audience could see two opposing lifestyles. People on drugs versus people not on drugs. The hard things to watch were seeing that incest occurred among the people of Central Appalachia, children going hungry because their parents spent state money on drugs, and how much education needed to be improved. Most people don't have computers at home, and many of those people do not have a high school diploma. A parent on drugs is destructing for a child. Dr. Nora Volkow mentions how, quote, parents' drug abuse often means chaotic, stress-filled homes and child abuse and neglect. Such conditions harm the well-being and development of children in the home. It may set the stage for drug abuse in the next generation, end quote. But there is hope for all those children suffering. It is a huge accomplishment for a person to overcome addiction. For example, Angel, who walked 16 miles a day to earn her GED. As tough as it was, she did, and soon after she found her own place to rent for her own family. A coal mining company tries to set a good example in the community as well by drug testing applicants. Jeremy, a teenager who was having his first child, decided to work for the Booth Coal Mining Company, and with that, bought his first home for his girlfriend, child, and himself. People like this deserve to be proud of themselves. This is a photo of Erica and her mother. So now this issue poses the question, how can these children be helped? One option is a law that was passed by the state of Florida and several other states are considering. Under the new law, when applying for welfare, the citizens of Florida have to, quote, take a drug test at their own expense. If they pass, they are eligible for benefits and the state reimburses them for the test. If they fail, they are denied welfare for a year until they take another test, end quote, Cohen. This idea is becoming very popular among a few southern states. Cohen takes a stand that the new law could be unconstitutional and could be a violation of the Fourth Amendment, which limits the state on what kind of searches it can execute. Cohen also claimed that the state would have to spend more money on this policy than it would save from tax money, and that the state would have to spend money to defend the policy in court. Cohen: money is not the issue when it comes to this policy. Money is an issue when taxpayers are literally spending their own money to feed people's bad habits. It does not matter if the state is making or losing money, but the money needs to be put in the right places and in the right hands. Cohen: drug testing people who need welfare is a complicated idea. If a person fails a drug test, that could mean taking meals away from a child or even more. It could also mean separating a parent from a child. Although it seems like a tough thing to do, it is an option that a few states are discussing and some have even passed laws against. The money that people on welfare get comes out of everyone else's pockets. The states that are considering the drug test for welfare law think that the people who are not deserving of this money simply should not receive it, and the way to tell who is deserving and who is not is by drug testing. It would be a much better idea for taxpayers to put their money towards foster care for the children or rehabilitation for the adult, but then again, even foster care isn't the best idea. Many children in foster care have a previous history of maltreatment, neglect, abuse, thus were traumatized and faced mental and educational hardships. When an adolescent left foster care, they were left to, quote, start on their own feet, end quote, Ruskis. Drug testing for welfare is controversial and is not the best option out there. Children are a part of our future. In order to keep a peaceful and happy society running, all members of the community need to help one another in keeping the peace, running the community, and moving forward. So the mental health and development of children is very important. As individuals, we need to protect our future and the future of our children. This population of children with substance abusing parents is a, quote, population at risk, end quote, Peleg Oren, that needs to help with their development as a preventative measure. Children need to be made aware that this addiction that their parents have is an illness, and that they are not to blame for it. Adults need to encourage children to express their feelings, and the support of family or close friends is vital. Children and adolescents need guidance to find ways to cope. Professional help and attention is the way to go.